Hey everyone, Mythic here. For all of you that are new to the channel, welcome. I've been playing Dungeons & Dragons and other tabletop RPGs since 1984, so yeah, it's been a very long time. If you're just starting your quest to build your own world, this is where you can start. How to begin when you really want to stretch out your writing muscles and imagination. Well, let's jump into it, all right? Okay, again, I will only be touching on the subject. This alone could take hours to explain in greater detail. I will eventually do a deep dive into the nitty-gritty of it, but let's go over the basics. You can find lots of inspiration for your world from books, TV, film, and more. What's your theme? It's going to be high fantasy, low fantasy, cyberpunk, dystopian. That all can shape a lot of your world. I'd expect a high fantasy setting has lands for different races. In a dystopian future, I would expect more protected borders and little to no forest or water, as an example. You just need a general layout. The scope of your world can take time to shape. World building for tabletop RPGs is an exciting and creative endeavor that can greatly enhance the immersion experience for players. Here are some tips to help you in your world building success. First, start with a core concept. Begin by defining a core concept or theme for your world. This could be a unique magic system, a specific historical event, a distinct culture, or anything else that sets your world apart. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using things that you've read in novels or watched on TV or in movies that inspire you. My Lands of Caledonia that I used for my LARP had a mix of Greyhawk and a backstory inspired by the Shannara series from Terry Brooks. Next, you need to create a detailed setting. You need to develop a detailed setting with diverse landscapes, cities, regions, and landmarks. Consider geography, climate, and natural resources, as they can influence the culture, economy, and conflicts within your world. What do these areas produce? Who lives in them? Why would they live in a harsh climate, etc.? Lots of questions that you can ask yourself about these areas, and it will really start to get that creativity flowing. Next, you need to design cultures that are rich and believable. Explore their traditions, customs, social structures, and values. Consider how different cultures interact and conflict with one another, which can lead to interesting plot hooks and quests. This could be as simple as using an existing races, species, or ancestries in the books that are part of the game you're playing. You do not have to reinvent the wheel if you put dwarves or elves into your world. You can if you want, but sometimes the basics are just as good until you really want to drill down into them. Next, you need to flesh out the history and lore. You need to develop a comprehensive history of your world, including major events, wars, and influential figures. Create myths, legends, and folklore to give depth and flavor to your world. Incorporate this lore into the game through your storytelling and artifacts. Were the lands shaped by war, famine, disease, or some other magical event? Next, you need to design unique races and species. So populate your world with diverse and interesting races or species. Give them distinct physical or cultural characteristics. Consider how they interact with each other and how they fit into the larger world. Again, no need to reinvent things if you do not need to, but if you create unique races and species, make sure to not delve into real-world hurtful stereotypes. Next, you need to establish a magic system. If your world has magic, define its rules and limitations. Decide how it's accessed, who can use it, and the effects it has on the world. Consistency and balance are important as they ensure fairness and prevent overpowering characters. Are there guilds that control who can be casters? Are there pockets of resistance to those laws? How oppressive can this system be? Again, tread carefully on touchy real-world subjects. If you know the players who will be in your world, ensure you're not running them into subject matter that they may not have been comfortable with and which you should have discussed in your session 0. Next, you need to build factions and organizations. You need to create various factions, guilds, orgs that players can interact with. These groups can provide quests, create conflict, and offer opportunity for alliances and betrayals. How do they, how does your group sell their liberated merchandise? Is there a shady group to sell to if they cannot find someone on the open market? Are there guilds that players can turn to for aid, such as a Sage's Guild or a Monster Hunter's Guild? Having some depth to this can allow players some valuable RP with NPCs, which leads into the next topic. Develop intriguing NPCs. You need to populate your world with memorable non-player characters. Give them unique personalities, goals, and motivations. NPCs can be allies, mentors, villains, or quest givers, adding depth to the player interaction. I've created so many NPCs for the LARP and adventures that I've lost count. Whether your players love them or hate them, NPCs are key to great stories. I cannot tell you how many times we would send out an NPC at LARP just for a quick hook for an adventure, and suddenly the PC is the center of so many questions that we had to make him into a recurring character. Next, incorporate moral dilemmas. Introducing moral dilemmas and ethical choices within the world. This allows players to make decisions that impact the narrative and encourage role-playing. Leave room for player agency. I've said this time and again. While you create a rich and detailed world, allow space for player agency and collaboration. Let players contribute to the world by building their own characters, their backstories, and locations. You would not believe how involved players get when you give them some leeway to help develop your world. They create their own NPCs that you can use, quests and monsters and more. You need to create plot hooks and quests. You need to develop engaging quests and plot hooks that will drive the narrative forward. Consider the interests, goals, and backstories of the player characters to ensure the quests are compelling and relevant. Sometimes the players don't take the hook and then they just wander off on their own devices. Remember that if your players are just not into the story, you will have to pivot and try other things. Dragging them along is no fun for either them or yourself. World going is an ongoing process. Be open to feedback on your world based on your players' experiences. Adapt and refine your world to ensure it remains engaging and enjoyable. Remember, world building should be a fun and creative process. Allow your imagination to run wild, keeping in mind the needs and interests of your players. I'd love to hear more thoughts on creating a world in the comments below. You never know what spark you will ignite with a few words for other game masters. Thank you for spending your time with me in your quest to become a better games master. If you're interested in more content, please like and subscribe below and click the bell for notifications on new videos. In the meantime, in between time, that's it. Another Mythic episode. Thank you for watching, and may all your games be full of myth, mirth, and magic.